Okay, we should now have sound. Tell me in about 4 seconds whether we've got sound. Any good on YouTube? Working now? So it's offline now. I'll stop. Someone please let me know when it's back online. Well, you've got plenty of time to think on the example then, at least. So think about the different scenarios. So someone said it's 100. Now I agree, if we put it above, it's going to be 100, right? It's 100. But putting it below, how does that change things? Because usually our run order of our code is top to bottom, right?
Undefined or error.
Undefined or error again. Okay. So we had. Oh. I think I must be on YouTube because I can hear myself. Fantastic. Let me get rid of that then. Okay. So we had undefined with var. Let's now look at let. Running that, we get an error this time. Uncaught reference error, my best score is not defined. So that must mean that it was already defined with var. And with const. Error? Yeah, same error, right? So the two modern ones throw an error when we try and do that. So in other words, they are not, well, technically they are, well, some people say they're not hoisted, so they wouldn't be hoisted to the top. And done something like that with. And then we've got my best score equals 100. Yeah. So now, oh yeah, so that's another difference about const, right? So I've tried to initialize a const to nothing. And it doesn't let me do that. It says missing initializer in const declaration. So we need to actually initialize it to a value. Can we do it with let? Yeah, there's no error. It lets us do that. So it initializes to, let's clear this. So it initializes to undefined if we just do it like that, yeah. And the same with var. So declaring our variables with let and const below where we access it, then that causes an error. With var, it will be initialized, but it will be initialized to undefined. So in other words, that's a slight difference, but still the best practice is please initialize your variables before you want to use them in your code. Yeah, don't rely on the weird sort of concept of hoisting to hoist your variables up or hoist your functions up. Please just declare and initialize them before you need to use them. It's a lot easier to read the code as well then if, you know, I know what my value's been initialized to up here. and then I can know what to expect in my functions or my things later on. Cool, so that was just a slight difference. Obviously with const, we're not allowed to initialize to an empty value, because then we'd never be able to change it, right? We could only delete it, we couldn't do anything with it. Right, so coming on to the differences in scope then, which I think was what Pellin was hinting at. So let's look at, hopefully I've got these the right way around. Let's drop this down so we can see it. So does anyone know what scope, did that go down? There we go. Scope var variables have by default? Global, always global? Does it depend where they're defined? So if I defined one within a function, so for example this, so that one inside the function there, does that have global scope? Would I be able to console.log, I'm going to need to sort out my, so we got global function, global variable declaration, we got this inside I, which is defined inside a function, then everything else is global, right? So if I tried to log my inside I, would my log have access to it? But you've just told me that vars are global scope. So if it's global scope, it should have access to it, right? someone said that. Davide's holding his hands up saying, I didn't say that, I didn't say that. Okay.
Usually we go on level, no?
Yep.
We can start from the inner side and go outside.
So Davide is describing the scope chain, saying that we can access things outside.
For example, I can console log, I think, from inside the function, var inside and var global.
Yep.
I think I can access outside the function and console log inside the function.
So something like that, yeah? You're saying you can access the global I from inside of a function, but you're saying that you cannot access this inner variable from outside of the function, yeah? Let's test that theory. I have a double I where? Global I. There we go, thank you. So we've definitely got an error here. So the value of global I inside the function is 7, so that's fine. We can access things via the scope chain from inner function to outer, and then to eventually to the global, yeah? But the other way around, can we access this variable declaration inside from global or from the outside? Then the answer is no, effectively, because it's not defined. It can't access it. Yeah. So good. So far, so good. So that means that var is not global scope. It's what sort of scope? We've got two options. We've got block or function scope. So you're saying var is block scope? Okay.
What happens if you remove the curly braces?
If I remove the curly braces, what, from here?
From one and the very end?
From here and here?
No, from line 1.
Oh, from line 1? Well, you're only going to be allowed to declare things once then. Remember, this is our scoping thing with DevTools. We need to wrap everything in a curly brace. Because if we're running the code more than once, we're going to be running into some issues. Yeah. So, okay. So let's have a look at some differences then. So we'd get the same behavior, right, if we use let or if we use const. Let me get rid of that. Well, no, let's not get rid of that. And we'd still get the errors. Okay, no worries. Let's have a look at block scope then. So what we mean by block scope, so this is inside the function, right? All of that. So therefore, if I fix my indentation, so we've got here, we've got global things on this line. We've got inside the function, so anything that's inside those curly braces, and then we've got a block. We've got an if condition and then a block. So this is our block here. Yeah. So will we be able to access the value of 4 inside the block?
I'm not sure. Maybe yes, because we are inside the function, so we are still inside. So might just double, I'm guessing.
Okay. And then our other option is if we try to access the number outside of the function, so in other words, in global in this case, then what is that going to be? Is it going to be 4? Is it going to be 1? What's it going to be? Okay. So the general consensus is we're going to have 1 outside of the function, and we're going to have inside. Is it going to be able to access this value inside the block or not? We're not sure, right?
Yeah, it should be 4.
Okay. Let's have a look. Let's run it. So the value of num outside the function is 1. So that was correct. No, that's... yeah, because I'm not actually invoking my function, am I? So this didn't get run. Sorry, my fault there. So invoke it, yeah. What is num? Boom. Okay, so now this inner code will actually get run rather than just declared.
It's almost 1.
That means var equal function scope, not block.
So the value of num inside the block is 4. Yeah, so we are able to access from the function variables declared inside the block with var. And you're quite right that the global one still just stays as 1. So we haven't overwritten that global variable. So that's another clue that var is not global. Because if var just automatically got hoisted into the global, then that would have overwritten this 1 as well, yeah? But that 1 has stayed there. Confusingly, they're allowed the same names, but that's the way it is, yeah? So I think Davide was right, yeah.
This work on var.
So that's what we're going to test now. So does that work with let as well? Okay, so all I've changed is a var to let. And who wants to tell me the values of the number inside the block and the values outside of the block? Definitely points for this one. Who wants some extra board points? 1-1? Is that because you got fed up accounting? So you just 1-1. Easy, yeah? Okay, have you just got 1-1? Anyone else? Agree, disagree, or something?
4-1.
4-1 for Phuket. So we got 4-1. Okay. So this is actually what the console log is going to return, yeah?
Could you remind us what we changed?
So we had a var previously, and now we have lets. And previously, the inside the block was 4, and the outside the function was 1.
Yeah, I stick to my
For me, we got an error.
For Davide, we've got an error.
So we will say that probably the let is already been declared something.
Something like let already
Then just this.
declared. Declared. Yeah. Anyone else? Carl, how you doing? Any opinion?
Take a guess. 4-1.
4-1, so you're going to go with Bouquet as well?
I'll go with Will. One more.
You're going with Viv. Pelin. Oh, Pelin. There we go. Sorry. Walter.
I would say 4-1.
4-1. Okay. Gawa. Sullivan. So we broke it. Gawa, agree with any of those? Not too sure. Yeah.
Can I might just take a guess?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it might just be 4-4. I don't know.
4-4. So it's getting the inner block thing all the time. Okay. So Gawa's gone 4-4. Anyone else? Last chance to contribute? No. Not sure. 4-1. Okay. 4-1 says Luigi. All right. Yeah, no one's gone 1-4. But let's run it now. Let's run it now. Okay. 1-1. The value of num inside the block, it's saying, is 1. So it's not actually getting the value inside the block, is it? It's looking for num. And num there has been
Yeah, I'm leaving it.
So, what happened with var? Var doesn't affect the scope. What is exactly what happened with var?
So
The
var-
var you can
Careful different values in outside.
affect what is outside the scope.
so var is function scope. So in other words, what happened when we had var num equals 4 there, effectively that got hoisted to the top of our function and declared up there. Then we had a block which, yeah, technically I guess that would have been, yeah, ooh, I'm not too sure actually of where I'd put that, but essentially the var is available to the whole function. So when we console log our number there, it's getting the num from within the function. Yeah? So just think that even if something is inside a block,
So,
which is inside a function, it's available to the whole function if we declare it with var. If we declare it with let and const are actually block scoped. So if we did take away the global number, Davide, then we might have something more like what you were looking for. So, yep. So what we're going to get now, I've taken away the global 1, the number equals 1, and let's not even worry about the global 1. So just, can this access the value of 4, which is inside of the block?
It's going to be fun.
It's still got the number 1 stored there. Yeah, that's a bit annoying. If I just take this out and do it again, I think I'm gonna have to shut the whole window. Yeah. So we still had our number stored in memory there. So if I rerun it afresh, So we need our block scope. Okay. So we run it now, and it says num is not defined because we've declared it with a let inside of a block. So therefore, it's not available at all outside of that block. And then when this block is finished running, num will get deleted. Yeah, it's not available to anything after that. The same goes for const. Yeah, I would also get the.
So what is function? Const and let looks scope. That means.
Say again.
Var.
Yep.
Var we use var for function scope.
So var has a function scope when we declare it. Yep, that variable has a function scope.
For block scope.
And const and let have block scope. Yep, that's, I guess, the main takeaway, or takeaway number 2, definitely, Luigi. Yeah. The different scopings of var, let, and const. Yeah. So generally, it's quite nice that once we're finished with a block of code, then that variable is gone. And obviously, if we want to get around that, how would we still access num from outside of the function? In this case, how could I change that to mimic the behavior of what var was doing?
We declare it outside.
Yeah, we just declare it where we need access to it, right? So I could have literally. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let's use a let because I actually want to change it within the. So let's say let num equals. Let's go back to our 100. So now we'd have access to our value. Is it going to be 100 or 4? 100. So our function, we're invoking our function. We're saying let a number equal 100. If true, assign number to 4, and then log the value of number. Yep. So that would just be 4. Yeah. So if we've got a block that we want to change the number, we're definitely going to have to declare it outside. Yeah. If we want access in the whole of the function. Cool. And of course, we could have just initialized it outside. We didn't have to give it a value. So the same way we initialize our state often, we can just initialize our variable. And of course, it still works and we still get 4. All right, any questions on that?
So where you declare variables is actually quite important.
Where you declare the variable, yeah, is very important because it will only be accessible within that block. Of course, we can return values, right? We're doing functional programs, so if we want to use the value elsewhere in our code, we just return it. So if I return number from what is num, then of course I can use that wherever I want in my program. So it's not a limitation, but it saves us mixing up our variable declarations or thinking we're using one value when in fact we're using another value for our score because it's defined, you know, hundreds of lines above or something like that. So it's safer and a better practice in the long run to definitely use let and const. Yeah. Cool. Unless anyone's got anything they want to expand on, then we will leave it there. Luigi?
So great. Just
yeah?
a basic one. But for block, do we mean anything which is included in curly braces?
Yes. So in JavaScript, a block is denoted by these curly braces here. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so the function block, if you like, is between those curly braces. And then that's just our block that relates to our condition, yeah, or our loop. So you often see blocks just with loops. That's the common case of where you'll see it. So inside a for loop, anything like that, yeah. Inside of your map or your filter, you know, you'll do a dot map, blah blah blah, and then you'll have another you have a callback function in there, so it's still a function block, right? But in loops, they have their own blocks, so. You could write a for loop You could write a while loop, you know, all of these things. All of those loops would have a block in there. And any variable declared inside with let or const will only be accessible for the duration of that loop. Okay. Cool. We'll leave it there then, guys, yeah? Thank you very much. No? Walter, you wanna? No? Okay, just pulling faces at me. Cheers, guys. Thank you.